This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Looking for solitude in an ocean of chaos. That's our topic today on Real Answers, a regular Wednesday feature during the Family Life Noon Report, where we discuss the issues that matter to families with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. Welcome back, Chris.
Always a pleasure, Mark.
Always a pleasure to have you here. Now, we should probably start by defining exactly what we mean by seeking solitude. Is that getting away from it all? Is it isolation? What are we talking about?
Yeah, this is something that I go over with my clients almost on a regular basis, especially when I'm initially bringing on a new client, trying to understand just how are they taking care of themselves? How are they, as you said, stepping out of the chaos of life and taking care of themselves? And that would be one instance, or stepping out of the chaos of life in order to avoid dealing with the chaos of life. Those are completely different things. And the first one, stepping out in order to take care of yourself and to just kind of relax and kind of regroup and rethink and spend some time in quiet time with the Lord. The second one, again, is stepping out of the chaos of life in order to avoid dealing with it, which is actually isolating for various reasons. And that's not so productive. That's actually can be potentially harmful.
Right. Well, there's no shortage of scripture on the importance of solitude, and Jesus modeled it over and over as crowds were following him around all over the Middle East.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Christians, we're admonished to do that, to take time, have some personal quiet time for Bible study and prayer. I get how difficult that can be to engage in it consistently. I teach my clients there's a good way to look at this, and that is have something that you can do on a daily basis, and it might not mean you're going to be able to spend an hour in prayer and Bible study consistently, but being able to step back, engage the Lord in some quiet time, in some relational conversation with him through prayer, and meditating on maybe just a few scripture verses. And then at some point also during the week, carve out some time where you can do that a little bit longer. And then even, listen, I say to folks, is there once a month where you can take more than that to go walk in the woods or whatever really helps to kind of connect you in the best to the Lord? It might be just walking through your town. I know folks like our pastor, before Sunday morning service, he'll drive and pray over the community very early in the morning. So that's one really unique way that he connects more with the Lord and also makes it a very practical time of prayer for the community. So doing this, being mindful to do this, you got to see in the bigger picture that we are so bombarded with life's demands, with the chaos of what was going on in our society. Satan's going to use that if we're not careful and we don't counter that chaos with purposeful time of solitude. And again, a time of solitude is purposeful, it's time limited, and it's refreshing. And we need to see the difference, like we said earlier, between that and isolating. Isolation is when we're basically trying to avoid, and that's when our problems can get worse, or that's where we can start to have additional mental health or spiritual issues, when we're just trying to avoid dealing with stuff instead of coping with it and constructively dealing with it head on.
You're listening to Real Answers. I'm Mark Webster, along with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson, talking about the importance of seeking some solitude amidst our chaotic lives. And it's scary. Silence is scary to a lot of folks. I mean, pipe music into elevators, so people have some distraction. It's almost a foreign concept.
A big part of that is, there's so much that's vying for our attention too, and we are training ourselves to have some kind of a distraction all the time. We're not able to maintain focus while we're alone or by ourselves or sitting just quietly with, our Bible or another devotional. And so a lot of times people will even tell me, when I'm doing this, I have to have the TV on, or, I like to watch a movie while I'm doing this. The problem is this, that we divide our attention at that point, and it interferes with, I think, our ability to really hear that still small voice. The Bible's very clear that how God speaks to us, okay? And we just look at the numbers and all the, the diagnosed cases of ADHD, both in children and adults, is that we're kind of training ourselves to not have good focus, to not have that ability to kind of sit quietly and just really calm our minds and prepare ourselves basically to hear what God might be telling us through scripture reading and or prayer. So being mindful, what that just means is finding a way to remind yourself to engage in increasing amounts of prayerful consideration and just being able to sit quietly and listen to the sounds of nature, if you're into that, or even just sitting in your room and hearing just the fan blowing in the background, to just allow yourself to just really kind of just start, all right, God, what is it that you want to tell me, and what do I need to pay attention to in your scripture today? It's just such a great habit to get into. And again, it's purposeful, it's refreshing, it's constructive. But if you find yourself spending more and more time alone in a state of, let's say, internal emotional distress, you're anxious, you're depressed, you're frustrated, you're feeling guilty or ashamed about something, and then you're using that time of alone time to avoid maybe constructively solving some of these issues or addressing them, again, now you're starting to isolate. Folks with severe depression, severe anxiety, and a lot of times also with addiction might be isolating instead of taking time of purposeful solitude. If that's where you find yourself, consider talking to somebody. Talk to your pastor, talk to a trusted member of the church, a solid, healthy best friend, or go ahead and seek some professional help with a counselor. But either way, be mindful of how you're spending your alone time, and if it's really hard for you, then it's maybe time to look at how you're doing it and see to make sure you're not isolating. And then again, shift that over to a more purposeful time of taking time with the Lord, getting into Scripture, praying, and then you'll see there'll be a big difference in how you cope with stress.
You've been listening to Real Answers, a Wednesday feature of the Family Life Noon Report, where we discuss the issues important to families with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. Thanks again, Chris.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.